Hi folks, this is Hebrew for All, a system by which everyone, wherever you are, however old you are, however young you are, whether you've learned in the past or whether you've never learned, whether you've learned other foreign languages, whether you've never learned another foreign language, this is a system at which everyone succeeds. It gives me great joy to feel that all of my students are successful. There's no reason that you can't be another successful student of the Hebrew language. We're learning in graduated steps in such a way that everyone can get it. And the magnificence of this particular approach, dovetailed with, say, a YouTube series, is that just go back and rewind it, or turn it back, or bring it back and watch it again and again. And for sure, you can feel free to write me at shlomo@ulpaneitan.com. You can see my website over there, ulpaneitan.com. And if you have a question, go ahead and ask, and maybe I can address it in an upcoming class. So we're going to get the class that we're doing right now is a direct continuation of two prior classes. The first class that I'm referring to is the class that I called the Aleph Bet. And I hope you all noticed that I was calling it Aleph Bet and not alphabet, because according to our tradition, the Jewish tradition, we really are the language with which humanity began speaking when the Creator shared his words with Adam, the first man. And insofar as that's the oldest language, the letters were really Aleph Bet before it became alphabet, I believe, in Greek. So let's go ahead and, so that was the first class. And then the second class was called Aleph Bet Reading 1. And so you've seen the letters and you've seen the vowels. And now I've mentioned the idea that you have to bite the bullet. You have to be prepared, as everyone is. I mean, I never saw anyone who didn't expend a little energy to get over this initial learning hump, which is that you've got to be prepared to bite into the language, to learn how to identify the block letters and how to write the script letters. So, and the natural culmination of that is in this class when we actually start to read words together. So I'm going to start with you learning words, and if you've looked at other things in this series, Hebrew for All, you'll see that the words of choice that I'm going to be using in this lesson are words that we've actually seen or heard. And I believe that that effect of you having heard it, perhaps, maybe not being able to connect exactly how it fits together in the words, but seeing how it looks, or having heard it will give you the clarity of appreciating now how it fits together, so to speak, black on white, my black pen on the whiteboard. So let me give you the first example of a word that many of you probably already recognize. That would be shomer. That was the granddaddy of all Hebrew verbs. We saw that sheet that was titled P0.1. And we really started over here with my choice of this verb, meaning guard, that I use as the basis of starting to teach the way the verb patterns of the Hebrew language operate. So, shomer. What I want to suggest is that we're going to divide this word right down the middle with this crooked line to show you that there are really two parts to that. Grammar talk would be syllables. Most people can handle the word syllables, so I don't feel bad about using that word. But two emphases in the word shomer, right? So how do we get to that? One more time. We had the shin, which was fundamentally an SH sound in English, and it needed a vowel. Otherwise, we would have just done sh. So then we stuck this vowel next to it, to its left, which is the O sound. Together, that was sho. And then we add on to that the mem. What's the basic sound of a mem, folks? But if we stick cat's eyes underneath it, it's now become a sound. Not really in Israel, in modern day Israel, the a sound as in may or day, but really more like something like an sound. I'm going to explain that in a second a teeny bit more. And then sho me r. And we're tagging on this resh at the end, and the resh, in fact, really only has the base sound of a resh, which is like a kind of like an R sound. Okay, and then we just take those two syllables or parts and stick them together, and we're reading really our first Hebrew word, shomer. I'm going to come back to what I promised you I was going to come back to in another second's time. The second word that we learn after that is, let's say, shomeret, which many of you may already have as an audio memory inside if you looked at the prior classes. And that would be very helpful for you because it would progress your reading for you, that you would already have the sound sort of in there. You would, as it were, you would be coming from having hit the bullseye backwards, so to speak. So, shomer was the first one, and this is sho, same exact thing. And now there's our mem, but this time we're going to put the 3 dots underneath it. And that's the S sound. Now, you're going to ask me the question, and I've come back to it, and I told you I would. Well, what's the difference, Shlomo, between the cat's eyes and the 3 dots? Truthfully, in modern-day Israel, the cat's eyes as a very strong, clearly enunciated A sound, as in may, day, a ray of light. It's not to be found here, hardly. It's all been, as it were, toned down in modern Israeli speech to being very, very similar to the sound of those 3 dots. So you're going to have to live with that like we all do. And then we had a resh after that, also with 3 dots, so we're repeating the same vowel sound, sho, me, re. And then what happens? The tav, the last letter of the alphabet, comes on, and it's really its base sound. It has no vowel. It's the last letter of the word. It's shomeret. Shomeret. So there we go. Shomer, shomeret. And notice, folks, along the way, we're knocking out some of these vowels as we learn more and more of real words that we already have recognized if we've learned it in prior classes. Shomrim, Shomrim divides the word right down the middle and adds in a new vowel which you have not seen up until this point, which is those 2 standing dots. I'll come back to that in a moment too as well. What I really wanted to focus on was Shomrim, that 1 dot underneath the resh, or, as in this particular case, the dot together with the yud. We do not hear the yud here. We hear this as the 1 vowel sound E, shomrim. Or, how do you like this? How do you pronounce that word on your own? This isn't boot camp, but still you can do it. There it is. Ko nim. What are the 4 forms of that one? It's not boot camp, but just the same. Ko ne. There's the 3 dots. And then ko na. And please excuse that little black line up above there, which is my saman. I forgot how they call it in English. Scratch it out. Koneh, kona, konim, and konot. So you've seen a few more vowels. And another vowel that you've seen is this one, that vav with a dot on the side, which is the broadside coming in, an oo sound, which had a bit of a partner in these 3 dots coming down underneath the letter. Call the letter X, for example. And we've seen that in our verb la kum. La kum. Or, in the same class in which we learned la kum, we also learned this verb, la shir. Again, the dot underneath and the yud there as one unit, creating the E sound. Lashir. Now, one other thing that I'll just say for those people in particular who will be looking at more ancient texts of the Hebrew language, what would happen if we would see this word, which is a word, believe it or not, that we've learned as well, written in somewhat of a different form. But if you're practicing your reading and you know the vowels, you would recognize this as being a word you know, and it is. Go ahead and you read it first. Lishmor. Lishmor. That's the verb to guard, the infinitive. Again, it was presented in a prior class. But what I want to point out here is, there you see the form of the O simply being shown as a dot without the vav underneath it. I'm calling this to your attention because you might see this in more ancient texts, but in all modern Israeli Hebrew, and it's the only way I'll be writing, or I'll be calling it to your attention if there's some dramatic reason why I have to change it, is we always, in modern Israeli Hebrew, will put that vowel in as a full O sound, like that. It makes it so less likely to be confused when we see that full vav in there, which is the only way we'll see it in modern Israeli Hebrew. Obviously, we're going to also be making a transition in the future from vowelized with the dots to unvowelized Hebrew, and we've touched on a lot of the basic reading, and maybe in the upcoming class on this subject I can give you just some more practice to make you feel more comfortable having me be your guide. But fundamentally, this has started you out on the path of reading. If you go back, as I've suggested through this class, and apply these rules to the prior classes in this Hebrew for All series, you'll see that you've started to read Hebrew, and I'm sure that's going to give you a lot of pleasure. It was a great pleasure for me to learn with you. Shalom, shalom.